promoting the racing industry, in this case, through the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. So that's what I make that. And then second, really, say thank you to our host, Larry Woods, for opening up his Hot Wheels exhibition here. And say that he is our first speaker in what we have started the Speakers Forum series. So our goal at this year and to continue the following years is to have a meeting and bring you speakers that are going to talk about the racing industry. In this case, through the Hot Wheels, through a designer, and we have other speakers that are going to be coming on board in the months to come. So that is, to help promote the racing industry, at the same time engage our audience and our guests as well as our members with speakers, and you'll hopefully go home and learn something else about our industry that perhaps you did not know. All right, so I'm going to kick it off and welcome Chris, our president.
Larry. Angela, you dropped your phone on the ground.
Okay. All right, so Chris was going to introduce Larry.
Perfect.
Okay? All right, Chris.
Okay. All right, thanks, Jim. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming and welcome. A lot of new faces in the crowd tonight. This is great. Yeah, we had a last minute change on the agenda. That's why there was a little bit of confusion right there. So we're going to do, part of this tonight is going to consist of our regular Board of Governors meeting. So we're going to get very brief reports from some of the directors. They'll tell us what they're up to and what their plans are. But first, let me present, let's give Larry Woods a round of applause. Come on out, Larry. How do you want to do this?
Hey everybody, thanks for coming. Let me start by saying when I was 15 years old, I picked up a hot rod. I'm from a small town in Connecticut. I mean, small town. It wasn't a stoplight within 10 miles. And I picked up a hot rod magazine when I was 15 years old, and that changed my life. Started building a hot rod, and I started drawing cars and stuff. And I finally figured out that my goal was to draw cars, live in California, cruise the beach with a hot chick, and there was no way in hell that was ever going to happen for a little kid in Connecticut, So I went off and did things for a few years, regular jobs and stuff, and then one day I crawled home with my tail between my legs and said, "Mom, I want to go to college, but I only want to go to this school in California that designs cars." So she helped me put a portfolio together, and we sent it, and I got accepted, which was a real shock. And flew to California, and boy, I remember when that airplane was coming over LA. The airplane didn't land, it just kept going in all these houses as far as I could see. If I had a choice, I would have gone home, but I said, I'm here, I made it this far, so I might as well keep going. So 4 years of Art Center, and on to Detroit. Worked for Ford for a couple of years. It was enjoyable, had a lot of fun. 25 years old, you're having a lot of fun. So, but the snow got to me. I couldn't work on the cars, and my goal wasn't quite met. So I met a hot chick, and I said, "You want to go to California?" She said, "Okay, so let's go." So I'm in California. I'm working at a Lockheed in the Valley, designing airplanes just to get to California. And one day I went to a party, and a buddy of mine had Hot Wheels set up with tracks and everything, and I didn't have a kid. So I said, "What the heck are those?" He says, "Those are Hot Wheels. I work for Mattel on those. I'm a designer." And I says, "Wow." He says, "Yeah, but I don't want to do that job anymore. I want to work for Matt Mason and do the space stuff." I said, "I know somebody that could take your place." So 1969, I did the interview with the boss of the company and got the job. I was actually there by myself for 20 years. Hot Wheels was hot, and then it was cold, and then it was hot, and it was cold. But most toys don't last more than 3 years, so they were surprised it lasted as long as it did. After 20 years, the parents started buying Hot Wheels for themselves and the kids, and sales started to rise. They had to get more designers in to help me out, and we kept going. I ended up staying there for 50 years. When I left, there there were probably 10 designers, and I hate to think how many there are there now, and they make 8 million cars a week. Yeah, that's what all these container trucks going by, they're full of Hot Wheels. So, like I say, then I lucked out and got a house near the beach with the hot chips, so we cruise the beach every once in a while. So everything worked out, hard to believe. Okay, let me give you a rough idea of how we make Hot Wheels. And this is the old ways. I'll show you, come back and tell you about the new stuff pretty soon. But basically, we would start with what we call a B sheet. And the B sheet was only because it was the size of the paper. This was called the B paper, and we would do the drawings in the B sheets. So I'll just show you some original drawings that got me going and making the cars.
Nicole.
So, Ford GT and a Cobra. There's gonna be a lot of just off-road trucks. We do a lot of crazy stuff. You know, that's the fun part about Hot Wheels. If you're any kind of a Hot Wheel collector, there's a car called the Bone Shaker. I made it with a skull on the front. You'll see it in that building when I get around to it. But that has been a real popular car. I worked with Don Perrone and McEwen in the very first, in 1970, their very first funny car. And this was the latest when they were actually putting the graphics on one of the new funny cars. So that was kind of a fun job. So sometimes you do things that don't come out exactly like you planned. So I was doing a tow truck, and I thought, why don't I put my home phone number on? So I built Large Towing with my home phone number on it. The trouble is I didn't put an area code, and everybody all over the United States started getting phone calls. And I got plenty myself. And in fact, I got one at Christmas. I told the little boy, does your parents know you're up? And he said, no. I said, put the phone down and go back to bed. So it lasted about 6 months before they came to my desk and knocked on the door and said, hey, take your phone number off. So, that was kind of a fun thing to do, but that's a collector item now. No, you don't have to.
And he has it inside. I saw it actually.
So I got to do, the cool thing about Hot Wheels is you don't get stuck doing a 2-door sedan or a 4-door SUV or something. So you can do all sorts of stuff. That's why we need construction vehicles. And there's another 427 Cobra. I got a ride in one just a couple weeks ago. Ooh, it's great.
What about 54 Studebakers?
I'm working on it. There's a box in here with every car that I've owned. I've made into a Hot Wheel. It's got about 12 cars in it. When I worked at Ford, one of the fun areas to work on was interiors, because interiors will let you do a lot of crazy things. So this was supposed to be an interior drawing with a seat. Well, had to put the car, the seat went in. And the funny thing is, when I got to Mattel, the first day they said, okay, design a car. I haven't even thought about doing a car this big. So this is the first car I ever did at Hot Wheels. So it was actually done at Ford, and I moved, like I say, I found the drawing and kept going from there.
Ford get mad at you?
Ford didn't even know I existed. Except for the parties. We were pretty known for the parties. Again, another Bone Shaker. And
First car. First design.
we also didn't do just Hot Wheels. This was a large-scale toy. It was called Magic Key or something. It was this one, it was a pickup truck. When you put the key in and turned it, the car opened up and it became a vehicle. I did Porsche, I did a Ferrari, I did this pickup truck. It was a cool toy, but it didn't sell all that good, but hey, I had fun doing it. And like I said, I get to do my own cars. This was one of my cars that I built here in this garage. And we did this for a while. So after you do the cars, after you do all the drawings and they pick one, the next job is to show the model maker what they have to do. And this is an engineering drawing, my engineering drawing. All this does is give the length, the width, the kind of the shape of the car. And then you have to do an exploded view because you have to cost every part. This is the body, the chassis of the interior. And you have to make it for $1 when it's on the shelf. So that was the hard part. Then the engineer takes this and goes and does the actual drawings. And they send it to the model shop. The model shop makes a pattern 4 times up. This was that Apple Largo we did. And the model shop makes all this stuff. Then they reduce this down 4 times. And that's what becomes the pattern to send to China. That's the way it was done in the old days. The new way of doing it is all computers, of course. You do a drawing on the computer, you spit it out, they make a little epoxy model, you get the okay, no in between stuff, just, one step at a time instead of 4 or 5 steps. And then you come up with the final product for the approval. So that's how they do it these days. And then when you get the final product, you have to put the graphics on it. That was a fun job. You get to do the graphics, and this is all done now on a computer, all sent to China, all digitally, of course. In the old days, I had to draw it all by hand. But, so it was a fun job. You can't beat it, and got to do what I wanted to do all my life. So that was basically it.
Larry, one of the things this drawing makes me think of when I was a young child was rat fink.
Yeah, I knew it.
Did you know? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Tell the kid, because there's a little story there.
No, I just knew, I mostly knew the guys that worked for him, Dan Woods and Jake Jacobs that worked for him. And you talk about a crazy guy, he set the standard, everybody wanted to be a little off kilter when he came around, so we actually did a couple of his cars.
Larry, can you take some questions from the audience?
Sure.
Yeah, if you have your questions, raise your hand and I'll bring the mic to you so that we can all hear you.
Do you have the 619 Volkswagen van?
I had one.
You did have one.
I had one.
When did you sell it?
I had so many Hot Wheels that it took up a car space in here. And I'd rather have a car than Hot Wheels, so I sold all the Hot Wheels and bought a couple cars. So, I had a couple of pretty rare things. I saw people paying $50,000 for a Hot Wheel at a couple of conventions in Little Rock.
Any other questions? Oh, you would have known George Barris and Ed Roth and all those guys, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that was the cool thing. I got to meet all my heroes. I did the Batmobile. You see it in the building. I did the Batmobile. We actually had to drive it to this place with the scanning, so got to cruise around with the Batmobile. That was pretty cool.
Our dear friend Steve Pennington, how many years did you work with him?
I arrived at Mattel in '69, and Steve was in the service. When he came back, he drove his hot rod into the parking lot. I always drove a hot rod. So we parked our cars next to each other for, God, we've been buddies ever since probably 1970. And we got in a lot of trouble together. So it was fun.
Did you design the chrome Boss Hog, a Mustang?
No, that was before me. Yeah, there were two guys before me. Each one worked about 6 months. So I came in the second year.
Okay.
But that was a rare car.
What was your favorite Hot Wheel you ever designed?
Good question.
About mid-'70s, there was a lot of talk about collectors coming on the market, but marketing didn't really think that it was going to happen. So I made a Hot Wheel called the Purple Passion, which is a '49 Merc, and I hid the rear wheels inside the body, because the rules were you always have to have the wheels outside the body. And I said, if this sells, this proves that there's collectors out there, and it sold like crazy. So that was the beginning of the collector line, and I actually was in charge of the collector line my last 5 years. And I'm going to open my garage on the way out. You guys can stop in there and you'll see all the collector Hot Wheels that I have in there.
Have you ever worked on any of the internal Mattel collab projects, like between like Hot Wheels and Barbie?
Yeah, we worked at, yeah, it's funny because Hot Wheels did a Barbie van and Barbie came over for real quick and told us to stop it. So, but remember, when I started, I was the only person there in Hot Wheels design, and the whole 6th story was Barbie. Yeah, the 60s girls and the mini skirts and their poofed hair. It was a great place to work. Hell with the Hot Wheels. It was fun, really, the crazy stuff they would do. One of my favorite stories is one of the guys had a little thing hanging from the ceiling with a bag of yellow fluid underneath it. And he would tell everybody, this is a motor, it had a propeller. The propeller was always spinning. And he said, this is an engine that runs on urine. We're gonna make a fortune on this. Everybody would come in and look, and the propeller was always running. Geez, everybody was all excited about it and everything. Well, come to find out, he took some air from the air conditioning and had a little tube pointing it at the propeller. And it was spinning the propeller all that time, and all the big executives were ready to sign all the paperwork to make a motor run on urine. And you never wanted to go on vacations. When you got back, your office was turned into a men's room or something.
Where did you draw your inspiration from?
Good question. You know, like I say, I was just a teenager in Connecticut. I guess strictly seeing stuff in magazines because there was nobody around. My mom was an artist, but not cars. My dad was a football coach. He didn't care about cars. But like I said, Hot Rod magazine or some other magazine would have some sketches in it. And I'd start drawing all my buddies' cars. And that was really my first job, was just drawing my buddies' cars. And that's what I actually said when I sent into the art center to get the job.
I know your mother was instrumental in your life. Did she keep some of your original sketches?
No, she didn't keep, and the worst thing was she had a portfolio that was knock your socks off. And when my brother got into a divorce and sold the house, everything went, and that was really a pity to lose all that. So I keep my portfolio for the kids. That's why I keep all this stuff.
Any idea how many different models Hot Wheels has ever had?
No, I don't know. There are people out there that I'm sure know how many I did and everything. All the Hot Wheel guys know all that information. I don't, but it's probably online somewhere.
Who was the man and his wife that was in Houston for the Art Car Parade this year? He lives in San Pedro and he's Hot Wheels.
They were, yeah, it doesn't ring a bell.
Maybe he was lying.
Yeah.
No, he said he was very involved with Hot Wheels. So.
Yeah, you know, of course, it wasn't just me. I designed the look.
Well,
But
no, I
there were,
recognize it wasn't you.
there were other people that came up with the wheels and the axles and all that stuff. And there's a couple of them that lived in Palace
San
Ridge.
Pedro.
Yeah.
So he's a collector of.
Was he a collector? Was he a collector, or he was a designer or
He probably worked, yeah, he probably was there at the very beginning. So they started in '68, so he had been in there in '67, '68 when they did all the engineering and work. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm gonna open up my building when you're done, and you can walk through on the way out.
I've got a question. Remember when Joe and I met you a couple years ago, we were in the parking lot of Mattel, and they were picking all who would be the winner of the Mattel, the Legend Tour. Can you remember you had come back from the LA Marriott, and there was all the collectors. Do you have a little story or anything what those cars were selling for? Or whatever?
Yeah, they have a Hot Wheel convention every year in October, and near LAX. And if you ever want to see some crazed Hot Wheel guys, every room is open all night. Their doors open. You can go in the middle of the night with a pile of money and come out with a pile of Hot Wheels, or a lot of money in one Hot Wheel. But it's crazy. It's the stuff that you wouldn't believe. And then they do a show over at Mattel for all the different cars and everything. So it's a whole week of Hot Wheels stuff. So that's kind of fun.
I have a question too. I know in the Netflix series Hot Wheels, there any models, or do they use any of those, like original or in the series?
In the Netflix series?
Yeah, Hot Wheels.
That was a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what they did, but they weren't anything I think we ever did. Yeah.
Now, Larry, is there any behind-the-scenes stuff that we would not know of, but that you came across that you say, "Wow, I would not even think that we did that." Besides the urine, run card.
Well, when Mattel signed up the Snake and Mongoose funny cars, I was there for just like about a year. I was a drag race guy. I'd come down to Lions and watch all that stuff. And when they told me I actually had to go out and meet these guys and take pictures of the cars and make a model of them, that was a real shock. That was really when we started doing real cars and everything. So I followed the Snake and Mongoose for years and still keep in touch with Perdome.
And if somebody was interested in pursuing a career as a designer, what would you recommend to them?
Well, again, there's a lot of different ways. I went through going to Detroit to be a car designer. So as far as I was concerned, that was the only way. In fact, when I came back to California, there was no automotive design in California, so there was not a chance in hell that I would actually end up drawing cars, and mostly hot rods. So like I say, I've had a pretty damn good life. I can't complain, except for at the beginning of this year, things kind of went wrong, but we're getting better all the time.
Yes, sir. Are you going to be at the Hot Wheels Monster Truck Show on October 3rd?
No, I don't think so. I've been to a couple of them. Yeah, I'm more of a driver, a street kind of car.
Probably there.
Yeah, it's always fun.
All right, we got a couple of more questions.
You mentioned that your mother was an artist. When you were a child, were you in art, were you aligning your life to be an artist, or you were just a whimsical child and your mother harnessed the talent?
About the only thing I can say about that is the only B I ever got, or above, was art. Algebra and all that other stuff didn't make a lot of sense. And spelling, I still can't spell. So my mom says, well, you're not going to go to college and be a professor or anything. You better follow art. So I wanted to be a mechanic, work on cars, you know. But I tried that for a couple years after high school and realized that isn't fun. It's fun doing it for yourself, but not for everybody else. And that's when I went back home and said, okay, I'm ready to go to California. So I was lucky enough they sent me. The rest is history. True luck.
Thank you, Larry, for that wonderful information you shared, and thank you for patiently answering all of our questions. And like you said, we're gonna now continue with our regular scheduled meeting, and I'll hand it over to Chris. Chris?